Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So, I thought it was time to do an update video. So we can call this update review and final thoughts on these Uniden GMRSs. Now, we picked these things up from Canadian Tire, just to go over the model number with you again. They're Uniden GMR1235-2. And they use AAA batteries. Now, if you want to, you can use rechargeables, but rechargeables don't do so well. They're a little bit lower voltage than alkalines are, and they don't last as long, period. You actually get better life out of alkaline batteries in GMRSs and FRSs than you will with rechargeables. And you can find that info too out on a lot of websites that talk about it. You know, you get X amount of time here with this kind of battery, X amount of time with rechargeables. And it seems that rechargeables don't do so well. So, which kind of makes perfect sense to me anyway. So, got these a couple of years ago. I did a main review back in 2011 with these things. If I remember, it was like October 2011 or something. I put the video up. We picked these up at Canadian Tire at the time for under $20. They were on clearance sale. And they're just a basic set of GMRSs. Probably about the bottom of the line you can get without, you know, going to a straight FRS only. So you've got 22 channels. Now channels 1 through, I think it's 1 to 14 are your lower wattage output channels, and also they're going to be your FRS channels, okay? Where your GMRS is like 15 and up. So now there are no security codes on these for privacy. They are a very basic set, but they do work very well. So, operation, push and hold for the power button. They go on, make that little nice sound it just made. Push the talk in, let go, makes a cool little sound, lets you know that you've let go. Call button. Call button is also a lock button. So right now I can change my channels, I can change my volume up or down, whatever I want to do. So if I push and hold the call button in, you get an L show up, it locks you out, okay? Including your call button is locked out, okay? But your power button is still accessible. You can turn it off, you can turn it back on, and it's automatically locked when you turn it back on. So if you need it unlocked, you gotta push and hold the call button, it'll beep and unlock you, and you're back to normal operations. When you want to scan channels, just push and hold either the up or down button, and it'll scan channels. And when it picks up something, it'll stop on that channel, and you'll hear whatever conversation you hear, etc. Okay, so it's kind of nice. Push the talk button once quick, it'll stop and goes to the channel that you left it in, which was, in this case, channel 20. So there's channel 16. Let's push and hold. You can also deactivate the scan by pushing either the up or down channel button, and it reverts back to channel 16. So you're always left on the same channel as you last left it in, which is kind of handy, because if you're talking with somebody else, technically you can both have your machine scanning, and as soon as you try to talk to each other, it'll stop scanning and put you on your channel, which is cool. That's kind of a nice benefit. Now your volume control, push and hold, and you push and hold on it, and it bypasses your squelch so that you can monitor the channel continually, okay? And then of course you hit it once again and it puts it back on squelch. So if you're looking to talk to somebody that may be at a further distance away, you won't be able to pick them up with the squelch on. You can bypass that squelch. Whoops, wrong button. And you can talk and let go. And if you can transmit to them and they can hear you, then they can transmit back to you, and you'll be able to pick them up. Now they may pick you up stronger or vice versa, you know, but at least that monitor button stays active, okay? until you press either the up or down volume button to go back to squelch mode. So very nice and handy. It's got some good little features in it which are nice. The sound quality is actually pretty decent on these as long as you don't overblast the volume. So I usually leave the volume around 5 with this thing. Even 4 is good if you're in a quiet area, you know. But when you start getting into 6 and 7, it gets a little on the noisy, distorted side. It's hard to hear the other person at times, depending on what they're saying and their type of voice, etc. So usually about 5 is a good level to put them. But overall, I mean, they are a great bang for the buck. They are all 100% plastic, and hard plastic too, even for the antenna area. Okay, so it's not flexible. The belt clip, although is kind of neat and it's slimlined with the unit, it is a lousy belt loop. It's got a little bit too much clearance here. If it had less clearance it would be better, but over time it would just wear upward anyway. So not the best belt system on this at all. So I'd probably recommend maybe putting your own lanyard on and hooking it through, and you know, just as a safety so it doesn't pop off your belt and go flying on you. Because I actually had one of these things come off my belt once, didn't even notice. But then I wasn't very far away, so you know, I was like, something just didn't feel right on my waist, you know, and I thought for some reason something just dawned on me, and yeah, sure enough, and it was behind me on the ground. So I didn't really notice otherwise. It wasn't for checking and just having that sense of something's not right. But anyway, for a set of machines that, you know, these things have about a 16-mile range apparently, they do actually very well. Now as far as when it comes to these sort of machines, you also have a, by the way, a battery indicator level that tells you how much battery power you have. It is kind of not 100% accurate. These batteries have got about 4 or 5 hours of use on them already altogether. And so I know they're not 100% full out, but they're pretty darn close. But anyways, as I was saying, as far as range goes, the more range the better on FRSs and GMRSs, but it depends on your use too. How much range do you really need? You know, and you know, most people when they're out hiking with somebody or camping or whatever, they're not that far apart from each other, like maybe a kilometer or two. No problems, you know, communication is great. But if you want to talk to people that are further away, you know, or you're in an area that's got a lot of obstacles in the way, then you might want something with a little bit more power output, which also of course is going to equal longer range. So you'd want to get into something a little bit more expensive for a unit. You know, regardless of features, you want something with more distance. So let's say these are good for 16 miles like they say they are. That means in a straight line. Okay, so take this analogy. Here's a pair of pliers. That's you. This little bottle, that's somebody else. Now you're 16 miles away in a straight line. Let's put an obstacle in the way. Now you've got a blockage. Now the signal has to go up and over, okay, or under if it can, or it's got to divide itself. That's going to cause distance loss. Now, depending on how far away you are, too, you know, and what obstacles are in your way, depends on how scattered that gets. And the more obstacles you put in the way, the more it's going to reduce your effective range. So a radio like this is supposed to have about a 50 kilometer an hour, a 50 kilometer range to it, or 25 mile an hour, 25 mile limit. So this would be maybe a better choice if you know you're going to be in a place with a ton of obstacles. Where if you're driving down the highway, for example, yes, you have obstacles of vehicles and stuff, but if you're only a couple of vehicles behind your partner in front of you, then, or behind you, whichever it happens to be, then that's not a big deal. Even a cheap little set like this is more than adequate for driving on the highway with. But if something happens and you end up with increased distance and you got tons of obstacles to deal with, well, then you might want a more powerful unit. Okay, but otherwise, we've done a lot of extensive testing with these in the cars on the highway. When we still had our motorcycles, I took my Baja bike up the road quite a piece, and they did actually really well, even for being 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers away, with having all the trees and everything else in the way. They did really well in that aspect, so that test went really well. And but we didn't really push it too far. But for what we use them for and what we have used them for, they work great. And they were bought more for an intercom system at the home, because we don't do a lot of traveling, but it was more for between the house and the shop. And I don't mind spending some money on some AAAs to avoid having to buy bulky intercom systems, that sort of stuff, that can also lead to being a pain in the neck. But what I didn't know at the time when I got these is there was no privacy codes. Of course, I also was new to them, because I also didn't know about privacy codes. So, you got to kind of watch what you say to each other on these things when you have no access to any kind of privacy codes. So that's where also more money comes in. You get privacy codes. Okay, and some of them have up over 2,000 privacy codes, depending on the brand name, the model, etc. But these things overall, even for just as they are, they work really well. The distance is really good. The quality is really good. They're staying together, and we've used them quite a lot. I haven't gone through a whole ton of batteries in these things. I have learned, though, about batteries in these things. Right now I'm running Energizers in this, and I've also run Inficells and Duracells, and those 3 brand of batteries last the longest and perform the best. Okay, the cheaper brand batteries like Dorsey's and Panasonics and Sunbeams and Rayovac Everready batteries, those things are garbage. They don't hardly last any time at all. You're just pouring money down the sink with those batteries. So if you're gonna get into this sort of thing, make sure you put some good batteries in them for the alkalines. Now you can also buy rechargeable units, which is how this one came originally, but it also has the capability that you can run just straight alkalines. And I've got 3 Energizers, because the rechargeable battery in this unit was actually toast, and my other unit itself was toast. I picked them up used. So, I mean, a couple of Energizer batteries, and I mean, this thing's got about 5 hours or 6 hours of runtime on this set of batteries, and they're still going really strong. And to test how strong your batteries really are is going to be more when you key up. You'll see if that battery level drops it or not. That'll really tell you how strong your batteries still are. Because you're going to use a lot more power transmitting than you do on receiving. So same idea as this. But all for the money, you can't ask for a better little pair of machines for a lot of fun. Now, going into back from then to now, these still serve their purpose. But, knowing what I do know now about the FRSs, and GMRSs, which is quite a lot compared to back then. Today I would not buy a set of these for myself. These I would buy for the kids. Give them to the kids. Hey, they don't care. They just say whatever they want. They do whatever they want. The whole world can listen in on their conversation. Who cares, right? And they're cheap. They're very, very cheap. So, it's not going to cost you a lot of money if your kids want a set of, basically walkie-talkies, and you can introduce them to these. The only thing is there are adults that are on these channels too, so you want to tell your kids, don't get mouthy with each other and that sort of thing, and have some respect. But I would definitely give these to kids more so than I would myself nowadays, because of what I know now that I didn't know then. Okay, so that's where the difference comes in for me, but otherwise, even if you're not giving them to kids, you want a cheap basic set, you're using them for similar purposes to what we do. I mean, even these are fine. They're a good buy, they're good quality. They can take a bit of absorption of shock, and they're all around a really decent little machine. Anyways, so that's my final thoughts and review on these things. and stay tuned because we are going to be talking about the Motorola one. And as I get more of these units and play with them, and of course you're going to get more videos, right? So anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.